Hi, welcome to the 14-day weather forecast. In my previous update, I suggested that the hottest day of 2023 was still ahead of us. Was that prediction correct? Well, yes it was, because on Saturday the 9th of September, 33.2 Celsius was recorded at Kew Gardens in London, making it the hottest day of the year so far. And I think it's reasonably safe to assume at this point that it is unlikely to be beaten in the coming weeks. But of course, never say never. Now, the really notable thing about the heat wave was the number of consecutive days when 30 Celsius or higher was recorded. I think across the UK as a whole it was 7. My weather station in Berkhamsted had 6 days, with the highest value there, 33.3 on the 7th. So actually a fraction higher than the official temperature recorded 2 days later in Kew Gardens, although my weather station has a tendency to over-report a little bit. Now, the heat wave has been pushed away, but how are things shaping up as we go through the next 2 weeks? Will those temperatures be rising once again? As usual, I'm going to start with the picture across Europe and the North Atlantic. The animation runs from 18 GMT, Tuesday the 12th. At the outset, there are some heavy outbreaks of rain in central and southeastern parts of England. Those are just clearing away. A few showers elsewhere, but a good deal of dry weather. But when I run this, what we see is it's a very, very mixed picture. Wet and windy conditions quickly push across the northwest, associated with an area of low pressure. Further heavy outbreaks of rain then through Thursday and into Friday. Into a weekend, it's low pressure as well, which is dominating things. So it's a very, very changeable scenario. There could well be heavy showers, downpours and longer outbreaks of rain affecting large parts of the UK. So if you're still at this time of year in the barbecue frame of mind, keep up to date with the short range outlooks, because the details are difficult to pin down and you may well be dodging the downpours. Going forwards with this, and what we see is the unsettled pattern really remains in place. There will be some drier intervals at times, especially in the south and the southeast, but further showers or longer spells of rain as the weather continues to roll in from the Atlantic. And at times, the closely packed isobars there across the north are indicating strong winds. So lots taking place through the first week. As you can probably understand by now, it's very, very difficult to pin down the details on a day-to-day basis. The key point there is showers or longer spells of rain at times in all areas, drier periods too, with the best of them probably in the south and the southeast and East Anglia. Jet stream profile and upper air temperatures. Again, the same time period. The mottled shading shows where the jet stream is, so it's making its way towards the northern half of the UK with some warmer air there in the south at the outset. And at times, that warm air does push a little bit further north. You can see the yellow and orange shading moving up across southern and central regions. But it's really the jet stream which is staying close to the UK for much of the time, keeping that changeable or unsettled theme in place. So with the warm air at times moving up into southern and central regions, that's probably where the highest temperatures are going to be. But let's take a look at some of the typical values through the first week. 15 GMT, Wednesday the 13th. 20, 21 maybe in southern and central regions, lower as you head into northwestern parts of Britain and Northern Ireland. Moving ahead to Friday, so when some of that warmth returns, 26, 27 in central and eastern counties, even there in parts of northern England up to about 22. It's the band of rain here though, which is really pegging temperatures down into single figures, so quite chilly, and there will be some uncertainties about exactly the track that band of rain will be taking, maybe a little bit further north or a little bit further south than was being shown on the animation. But continuing with the temperature charts, moving forwards to Saturday, 27, 28 maybe in central and southeastern England and East Anglia, but that warm air at this point is getting shunted further southeastwards all the time. Only 12 or 13 there across parts of the north and Northern Ireland, just into double figures. In fact, so quite cool at this point up there. But as I say, there is some uncertainty about the details. Going ahead to Monday, at this point it's looking fairly average really in all areas. It's a little bit warmer than it was in the north and in the southeast, and East Anglia a little bit cooler, 21. So there is quite a lot of temperature variation as we go through the first week, but what about rainfall? The charts here show accumulations for days 0 to 5, ECM on the left, GFS on the right, and all parts of the UK seeing some rain through this time period, but the wettest conditions shown on both of them are across northern Wales and parts of northern England, and that's really been produced by the band of rain which you could see on the animation through Thursday and into Friday. But as I say, that may be a little bit further north or a little bit further south than the computer models are currently indicating. Moving forwards to the 0 to 10 day period now, look at that ECM chart on the left. The deep reds are showing rain totals through the 10 days of over 200 millimetres in parts of northwestern England and even western Wales, maybe also southwestern Scotland, some high totals there as well. Now the GFS on the right shows a similar distribution of rain, but the values are not as high. So I think this really does need watching quite closely, because there is the potential in parts of the UK, so Wales and the northwest, for flooding to occur. Some very, very wet conditions are possible at times if these computer model runs are correct, particularly the ECM. Well, in more general terms, how do the deterministic models compare with each other towards the end of the first week? Here is the GFS on Tuesday, the 19th of September. It's the model run which the animations were based on. As I've already discussed, it's showing an unsettled scenario. At this point, low pressure is centered just to the northwest. Another thing to note is this feature down to the southwest. It's an ex-hurricane or ex-tropical storm. I'm not quite sure which one it is off the top of my head. That doesn't really matter, because the important thing to take on board with these features is that the impact of them is to reduce medium range forecast confidence, because computer models struggle to pin down how they are going to interact with other areas of low pressure in the North Atlantic and the knock-on effects with the jet stream profile. So often, as I say, in this part of the year, medium range forecast confidence is lower than at other times. Onwards, here's the Canadian global model at the same point. Low pressure here also, centered to the northwest. It's quite a messy picture. We've got features here, here, and here, so and an area of high pressure in between. The general theme, though, is quite changeable. A greater chance of drier and warmer periods in the south. Onto the German icon model. Low pressure here, pushing down across the UK, so it's also quite a changeable or unsettled theme. Likewise, the European ECM. Finally, the UK Met Office also indicates the same general pattern, but of course, as I've been hinting, there are significant differences in the details between these computer models, and just in particular how they are handling the development, the evolution of those ex-hurricanes and ex-tropical storms as they go across the North Atlantic. But taking them all on board, it's quite a changeable or unsettled picture towards the end of the first week. A risk of showers or long spells of rain in all regions. The greatest chance of drier and warmer periods there in the southeast, maybe East Anglia as well. Now, with that very mixed end to week one, how are things looking as we go through week two? Trends and probabilities, as you should know by now. Here's a 16-day GEFS ensemble plot for London. Air temperatures on the top part of it. The thick purple line there is the average of all of the individual runs in the model. The thick black line, the 30-year norm. So the theme here is for above average temperatures to continue through much of the second week. Rainfall along the bottom, there are a significant number of spikes, so there's an ongoing risk of rain, and just taking those two together means that it won't necessarily be warm at the ground level, but let's see the data table showing 2-meter temperatures. The oranges here, dominant 16s to 20s, still quite a bit of this shading as well, 21 to 25. So all in all, it looks like temperatures in this part of the UK through week two will often be close to or a little bit above the norm. So still the possibility of it being quite warm, at least on some days. Up to Manchester, The air temperature profile here is close to the 30-year average, the purple line there tracking the thick black line for most of the period. There are a few warmer runs which appear later on, but those are in a minority, but they do suggest that warm air from the southwest or the south may still try to make it northwards at times. Rain spikes along the bottom, well, there are some big rain spikes showing there, and I think this looks distinctly wet, and it really ties in with those deterministic forecasts which showed high rain totals in the northwest of the UK. 2 metre temperatures, the oranges dominating, 16s to 20s, but there's more yellow, 11 to 15, so it's a little bit cooler as we're heading northwest. Up to Glasgow, close to average air temperatures, similar profile to Manchester, and along the bottom, lots of rain spikes there, and again, some very big ones. It's a wet picture, and that just, again, supports the same narrative, really, that it's going to be wetter in particular as you go northwestwards. 2 metre temperatures for Glasgow. The yellows are now the main colour in these columns, 11s to 15s, a little bit of green showing up, so maximums are 6 to 10 Celsius, so cooler again as we're going further north and west. I thought it would be worth just breaking out the rain data in a little bit more detail because the data tables perhaps make things clearer. This is for London. Light grey shows the number of runs at that given time, which are going for completely dry conditions. Dark grey, just a little bit of rain. The purples, blues, greens, yellows are higher totals. Now compare the London one here with the Manchester one. You can see there's more green, blue, yellow, purple than on the London one, and up to Glasgow. There's quite a lot of the colours here, so indicating significant rain, and even less of the light grey, so fewer runs going for completely dry conditions at any given time. It just, I think, makes it a little bit clearer at times when seeing the squiggly lines on the graphs because this gives you a breakout of all the individual runs in the ensemble and categorises the amount of rain which they're going for at a given time. The 10-day mean surface level pressure plot, so Friday the 22nd of September, taken from the GEFS model. Low pressure, probably centred to the west, the northwest. So it's quite an unsettled pattern really across all parts of the UK, but there is some suggestion here that in the southeast and East Anglia, that warmer air from the southwest or the south may still be paying a visit on some days. The mean surface level pressure data table going through the second week for York has quite a lot of yellow in the columns, runs between 1,011 to 1,025 millibars, so some of those runs are above the average, some are below it, but quite different to recent updates, I think. Lots of green showing up and little bits of blue as well. The green, though, 996 to 1,010, all of those runs are below the 30-year norm, so definitely a more low pressure dominated scenario is being highlighted through this period than has been the case for quite some time. It looks more autumnal than it has been doing in recent weeks. As you would really expect, we're now heading into the final third of September. But with low pressure maybe centred to the west, to the southwest, it does also point towards it not being particularly cool for the time of the year, and that fits in with the temperature profiles which I've been discussing. So, to summarise, week one showers along spells of rain, but also some drier periods. Warm at times, especially in the southeast and East Anglia, although on the whole temperatures not far from the norm. Week two, quite unsettled, showers or long spells of rain in all regions. Once more, the driest and warmest periods for the southeast and East Anglia. Note the star. There is the potential through both weeks for very wet periods to develop. The greatest risk of those is in the northwest and western Wales. Flooding may become an issue if some of these computer model predictions turn out to be on the ball. So, there we have it. A very mixed bag of weather on offer for the next 2 weeks. Still warm, I think, at times, especially in the southeast and East Anglia, but also an unsettled theme, the risk of very wet periods, particularly in Wales and northwestern parts of Britain. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then as ever, please consider hitting the like button below and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Also, remember that you can keep up to date with the day-to-day weather details by checking out the weatheroutlook.com website. Thanks very much for watching now. Bye.